Hello and welcome to this section of Mastering Excel. In this section we're going to start to talk about text and alignment options in Excel. It's just sort of a few options that you have to have better control over the text and titling of your worksheet. So we're coming back to this worksheet that we've used several times before just to kind of demonstrate a few things. Some of the stuff I've mentioned in the past, but we're going to put it all here in one place. First thing I want to say, let me go ahead and make column A a little bit wider just to kind of put it in place. And I'll just show you and remind you really that text, so for instance my name Jason, is always going to be left justified. Any text that you write, whereas numbers such as 852 are always right justified. So that's sort of the default placement of Excel. You can see that's happening with all of the text and all of the numbers that we have on the page here. But as a reminder, much like a word processor, you can change that. So if I don't want Jason to be left justified, then I'll just come up to the ribbon in the alignment group of the Home tab. And you see these guys here are very similar to what you'll see in most modern word processors. This is center, and you can see the tooltip there. If you click that with this cell highlighted, then Jason will be centered in the cell. If you click this one, the right alignment, Jason will be bumped over to the right. And if you go back to the left alignment, Jason will go back to its default place there. Same thing can happen with your numbers. Lots of times numbers look great bumped to the right. Sometimes you want your numbers in the center. Sometimes you want your numbers to the left, or you can put it back the way it goes. So left, center, right works very much like a word processor. You'll be using that kind of thing pretty frequently in Excel. Now what I'm going to do is take these entries that we've just created and delete them. We don't need them anymore. And what I want to do is put a title up on top of this worksheet. I could put it right here in row 1, but then it'll be kind of right on top of my table. I don't really like that too much. So I'm going to highlight this row. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit insert, and a new row is going to pop up. All right, I'm going to do that one more time just to give us a little bit more space. So all I've done is add a couple of extra rows there. Everything else has been pushed down. And let's like to add a title here in column D here. So for instance, I could do, let's call it company yearly sales. Something like that. That's a nice little title. It looks a little bit boring though, so we might want to jazz that up a little bit. We might want to increase the font. We've done a lot of this stuff before, so we'll push that to, let's say, size 18. Let's go ahead and bold that so that at least stands out a little bit. Now let me show you a couple of other things. So this is in row 2. In fact, it's in cell D2. Let me drag and make this row just a little bit taller like that, so you can see when I drag it down like that, you can see the words they're kind of automatically at the bottom of the cell here. So this is cell D2, but the words are actually normally at the bottom of the cell like that. All right, so if I highlight this, I can override that if I want to. I can put, much like I can center left to right, I can center vertically. So I can make that text appear in the center of a cell by clicking this button here, which is a middle alignment button. Or if I want the words to appear in the top of the cell, I can make the words appear in the top of the cell. So these buttons here behave exactly as the ones below, except they allow you to adjust numbers and words vertically top to bottom in cells. That's pretty common a lot of times if you have a very large title, or if you have, for some reason, a row that is very fat like this. There's many reasons you might have that. Then you might prefer to have the title centered or something of that nature. So now what I want to do is show you how you can have a little bit more control over this. First, let me get this chart kind of over here to kind of move it a little bit out of the way here. Now, notice that we're in cell D2. This is where the title resides. Even though it seems to spill over into column E and F, it's actually all located in cell D2. And I've mentioned a couple times to you that if you want to force a line break in Excel like this, you can hit Alt-Enter. So I'm going to hold down Alt, I'm going to hit Enter, and that's going to force, I'll click off the cell here, that is going to force kind of a page break there. Now I can expand this column and I can see what happened was Excel put a line break in there between company and yearly sales. Now let me show you here. This looks pretty nice, but unfortunately I had to kind of make this column wider to accommodate it here. We'll get to fixing that in just a minute. Alt-Enter is a way to break your text and force sort of a line break in a single cell. Notice everything everything still really is in cell D2 there, but I've just kind of forced a line break there. Let me go and undo this. I'm going to go ahead and hit the undo key a couple of times just to kind of put us back where we were. This is how we were before. Let me show you something else you can do. Instead of hitting Alt-Enter, if you forget that keyboard shortcut, notice we're highlighting cell D2. I can click the button in the ribbon that says Wrap Text. And it kind of shows you a little graphic of what's going on here. It takes a longer cell with words that spill over and it forces a break there. So let me go and hit Wrap Text. And now you can see everything is neatly contained in cell D, but the cell is actually too small. So let me just kind of increase the width, and I'll increase the height, and you can kind of see what's happening here. As I change the width here, Excel is automatically changing how the words are wrapping. So that's very convenient. If you don't remember the Alt-Enter deal and you don't want to think about it, then you can just go ahead and do it that way. Hit Wrap Text, and Excel will figure it out for you. One final thing I'm going to show you. Let me go ahead and hit Undo and put my title back the way it was. We'll kind of keep it... We'll go back to this point right here. So we have everything located in cell D2. Here we go. Now notice how the entire title is located in cell D2. What I can do is I can highlight as many cells as I want, and I can go up here to merge and center. What this basically does is it takes these cells that I've highlighted, these 4 cells, and it merges them into one giant supercell, for instance, and then it centers the text in there. So you kind of avoid this text spilling over problem. Let me go ahead and hit merge and center. And what you'll see now is that the text is still located in D2, but whenever I try to click on E2, like if I try to click here, or if I try to click on F2 or G2, they just don't exist in the worksheet anymore. I've merged all 4 of those cells into one giant cell, so there's really only a D2. There's no E2, F2, or G2, and so that's a great way in order to kind of get your title in a place kind of off by itself without messing with anything else. And by the way, you can in general merge as many cells as you want. If I want to take all 8 of these cells and merge them into one cell, I can click this drop down button. I can just merge the cells. I'm not centering any text or anything. I can just merge them, and all of these cells become one giant cell. So here we have A12, A12. There's no B12 or C12 anymore. Those are all merged together. And in order to unmerge them, I can hit this drop down and hit unmerge cells. So in this lesson, we've just basically learned how to handle text a little bit better. We can do the left and right justify. We can do the top and bottom justify. We can wrap the text. We can merge cells and center the text. And it just gives you a little bit more control on how you enter your text in the cells in Microsoft Excel.